Have you ever noticed that the world gets into you before you get into yourself? You open your eyes, the alarm goes off, and before your feet even touch the floor, your hand reaches for your phone. You check messages. You scroll through news. You read someone else's words, someone else's opinions, someone else's problems. And just like that, the morning is no longer yours. This is a lesson for English learners who want to grow inside and out. Most people never think about this. They move through the morning on automatic. They let the noise in before they have said a single word to themselves. And then they wonder why they feel scattered, tired, and behind before the day has even begun. But some people do something different. They wake up and they speak, not to their phone, not to the news, to themselves. Quietly, intentionally, with words that carry weight. And those words change everything. Your morning is your message to the day. What you say to yourself in those first few minutes is not small talk. It is not just habit. It is an instruction. Your brain is already awake. It is already listening. And it will follow wherever your words lead it. Today I want to give you something real. Not a long list of affirmations to memorize. Not a complicated routine that takes an hour. Just a small set of powerful phrases. Words you can say to yourself every morning, quietly standing in your kitchen or sitting on the edge of your bed, that will slowly and gently change the way you see yourself, the way you move through your day, and the way you feel when your head hits the pillow at night. By the end of this lesson, you will understand why these words work. You will know exactly when to say them. And you will feel, perhaps for the first time, what it means to start a day on your own terms. This is not about being perfect. It is not about forcing positivity when life is hard. It is about something quieter and more honest than that. It is about choosing each morning to be on your own side. If this is the kind of content that moves you, subscribe right now. There is more coming and you do not want to miss it. Now let us begin. Let me ask you something honest. What is the first thing you say to yourself when you wake up? Not out loud maybe, but inside. That quiet voice that starts running the moment your eyes open. What does it say? For most people, it sounds something like this. I'm so tired. I don't want to do this today. I have so much to do and not enough time. Why did I say that yesterday? Why haven't I done more with my life? Here's the truth. Most of us start the day already behind, already a little defeated, already carrying yesterday's weight into today's hours before we have even stood up. And it is not your fault. Not completely. The brain is wired to look for problems. It is an old survival habit. In the past, noticing danger early kept people alive. But in the modern world, that same habit turns against you. Your brain scans the morning and finds things to worry about, things to regret, things to fear. And if you never interrupt that pattern, it runs all day. There was a man, let's call him Daniel. He was in his mid-40s. He had worked at the same company for 11 years when he lost his job one cold Tuesday morning. Just like that, it was over. The weeks that followed were hard. But what Daniel remembers most is not the job interviews or the financial stress. What he remembers is the morning. He would wake up and lie in the dark, and the voice in his head would start immediately. You failed. You are too old to start again. Nobody is going to want you. He did not choose those words. They just came. Every single morning, before he had done a single thing, he had already told himself a story. And the story was always the same. And it was always unkind. You scroll, you worry, you react. That is the automatic morning. That is the morning that most people live inside of without ever questioning it. Most people let the world speak first. Strong people speak to themselves first. This is not about being an optimist. This is not about pretending everything is fine when it is not. Daniel's situation was genuinely hard. Telling himself everything is great would have felt like a lie, and he would have known it. What he needed was not false brightness. What he needed was a different kind of conversation, one that was honest but also kind, one that said, yes, this is hard, and I am still here, and I am going to move anyway. That shift did not happen overnight for Daniel, but it started with one small change. It started with the words he chose to say to himself before he got out of bed. The world is loud. Your voice has to be louder, especially in the first 10 minutes, because those 10 minutes set the tone for everything that follows. The way you walk into the kitchen, the way you respond to the first message you receive, the way you sit down to work, the way you treat the people around you. It all flows from those first quiet moments when you are alone with yourself and the morning is still new. The question is not whether you will talk to yourself. You will. You already do. The question is what you will say. You might be thinking, this sounds nice, but does it actually work? Is talking to yourself in the morning really going to change anything? Or is this just another feel-good idea that sounds good but does nothing? That is a fair question, and the answer is rooted in something real. Your brain is listening. Your brain is recording. Your brain is building. Every thought you repeat, every phrase you say again and again leaves a small mark. And over time, those marks become paths. And those paths become the default routes your mind travels without even thinking about it. Scientists call this neuroplasticity. It means the brain is not fixed. It is not finished. It changes. It grows new connections based on what you feed it, and what you feed it most often becomes what it reaches for first. Now think about this. If the first thing you say to yourself every morning is, I am tired and behind and not enough, your brain starts to build a road toward that feeling. It gets faster at finding that road. It starts to feel natural. It starts to feel like the truth. But the opposite is also true. If you begin each morning with words that are grounded, clear, and kind, your brain starts to build a different road, one that leads toward focus, toward steadiness, toward a quiet belief that you can handle what is coming. This is not magic, it is not instant, but it is real, and it is available to every single person who chooses to use it. Marcus Aurelius understood this long before modern science gave it a name. He was one of the most powerful men in the ancient world. He commanded armies. He led an empire. And yet every single morning he sat down and wrote. Not orders, not plans, words to himself. Reminders of what he believed. Reminders of who he wanted to be that day. What we now call meditations was at its heart a morning practice. A man speaking to himself before the world demanded anything from him. He wrote things like, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. He did not write these things once and move on. He wrote them again and again because he knew that the mind forgets, the mind drifts, the mind needs to be called back gently every morning to what matters. Marcus Aurelius was an emperor. He still needed to remind himself who he was every single morning. If he needed that, you need it too. Not because you are weak, because you are human. Because the brain is a tool, and like every tool, it works better when you pick it up with intention. Think about the words you have been feeding your brain each morning. Not the words you want to feed it, the words you actually have been feeding it. The automatic ones, the quiet ones you did not choose but let in anyway. Now think about what it would mean to choose differently. Not perfectly, not dramatically, just a small, steady daily choice to say something truer and kinder and more useful to yourself before the day begins. That is what the rest of this lesson is about. Not big gestures, small words said consistently with your whole attention every morning. So where do you begin? You begin where you are. Not where you want to be, Not where you think you should be. Right here, right now. This morning, this body, this life. The first set of words I want to give you is the simplest. And sometimes the simplest things are the hardest to actually do. Take a breath. Before you reach for anything, before you check anything, before you speak to anyone, just breathe. One slow breath in, one slow breath out, and then say these words quietly to yourself. I am here, I am alive, and that is enough to begin. That is it. Nothing complicated, nothing that requires you to feel good or positive or ready. Just a small, honest acknowledgement that you woke up, that you have another day, that you are still in the game. If you have been carrying heavy things lately, if your mornings have felt more like burdens than beginnings, if you have woken up and immediately wished the day was already over, then these words are for you first, before anything else. There was a woman named Maya. She was in her early 30s, a nurse, someone who spent her days taking care of other people, and she was good at it. But her mornings were full of anxiety. She would wake up and immediately start running through everything that could go wrong. The long shift ahead, the difficult patient, the thing she had forgotten to do, the call she had been putting off. One evening, a colleague told her something small. She said, before you get out of bed tomorrow, name 3 things you can see or feel right now. Just 3. The weight of the blanket, the light coming through the curtain, the sound of the street outside. Stay there for 30 seconds, then get up. Maya tried it, and the first morning she thought it was too simple to work. But she kept going, and after a few days she noticed something. The anxiety did not disappear, but it moved. It no longer arrived the very second she opened her eyes. There was a small gap now, a quiet space between waking and worrying. And inside that space, she had room to breathe, room to choose. That small gap is what presence gives you. A weak morning says, I have to. A strong morning says, I get to. I have to go to work, or I get to go to work because I have a job and a body that can carry me there. I have to deal with this difficult day. Or I get to move through this day because I am still here and still capable. This is not about pretending life is easy. Maya's days were genuinely hard. The point is not to deny the difficulty. The point is to place yourself first in gratitude for the simple fact of being alive and present. Because gratitude does not erase problems, but it changes the ground you stand on when you face them. Gratitude is not soft. It is one of the strongest things a person can do at 6 in the morning. Your morning is your message to the day. And when the first message you send yourself is, I am here and I am grateful, everything that follows carries a little more weight, a little more steadiness, a little more of you. If this lesson is already shifting something in you, hit subscribe right now. There is more coming, and I do not want you to miss a single part of it. Presence is the foundation. But presence alone is not enough. Once you are here, once you have breathed and named your gratitude and settled into the morning, the next question is this: where are you going today? Not in a big philosophical way. Not what is the meaning of my life. Just today, this one day, what matters most? What do you want to move toward? What kind of person do you want to be when you walk out of your door? Most people never ask this. They wake up, they get ready, and they let the day pull them wherever it wants to go. An email arrives and they react. A problem comes up and they scramble. A distraction appears and they follow it. By the time evening arrives, they feel busy but somehow empty, like they ran very fast but did not really go anywhere. Listen carefully. There is a difference between being busy and being directed. A busy person fills the hours. A directed person chooses what the hours are for. and direction begins in the morning, with words. She decided. She declared. She moved. That is the sequence that intention creates. First, you decide quietly what this day is about. Then you declare it to yourself, out loud or in a whisper, with enough weight to make it real. Then you move toward it, because the words have already started pulling you in that direction before your first cup of coffee. The phrase I want to give you here is this: today I will focus on what I can control. I will do my best with what I have, and that is enough. Simple, clear, grounded in reality. Not a promise to be perfect, not a demand to achieve something huge, just a quiet commitment to show up intentionally and do good work with whatever the day brings. People who drift through days react to life. People who speak with intention shape it. Oprah Winfrey has spoken many times about her morning practice. She does not leave the morning to chance. For decades, she has started her day with stillness, with gratitude, and with a clear sense of what she is moving toward. She has said that the morning is where she finds herself before the world finds her. And she has built one of the most remarkable careers in modern history, not by accident, but by starting each day with intention. Now, you do not need Oprah's resources or her schedule. You need 60 seconds. You need one honest sentence about what today is for, and you need to say it to yourself before the noise begins. There is something else worth knowing here. When you set a clear intention in the morning, your brain's reward system begins to orient toward it. Scientists describe this as priming your dopamine pathways. When you name what matters, your brain starts to notice opportunities to move toward it throughout the day. Things you would have missed before suddenly become visible. Small chances to act on your intentions start appearing. Not because the world changed, because your attention did. This is why people who journal their intentions, who speak their goals aloud, who begin each day with a clear mental direction, tend to feel more in control of their lives. Not because they have more power than others, because they have pointed their minds in a direction and given their brains something to work toward. Oprah does not leave the morning to chance, and she has been doing this for decades. Your morning does not need to be long. It does not need to be perfect. It just needs to be yours, intentional, directed, started by your voice, not the world's. Say it again if you need to. Today, I will focus on what I can control. I will do my best with what I have, and that is enough. Feel the weight of those words. Let them settle. Then begin. Now I want to talk about the mornings that are hard, not the average mornings. Not the mornings where you are a little tired or a little stressed. I mean the mornings that come after something breaks, after a relationship ends, after you fail at something you cared about, after a long stretch of trying and not seeing results, after a night where you barely slept and the weight of everything felt too heavy to carry. Those mornings exist for everyone. And no morning practice, no set of phrases, no daily ritual will make you immune to them. That is not what this is about. What this is about is having something to hold on to when the ground feels unstable. A few words that cut through the noise and remind you of something true, not something false and bright. Something real and steady. Stay with me, because this part matters most. David Goggins is known as one of the hardest, most disciplined people alive. Former Navy SEAL ultramarathon runner, a man who has pushed his body and mind far beyond what most people believe is possible. He talks openly about the voice inside his head, the negative one. The one that says, "Stop. Quit. You can't do this. Who do you think you are?" He calls it the enemy within. And he does not pretend it doesn't exist. He does not silence it with positive thinking. What he does is answer it, out loud, with his own voice. He talks back. He says, "You are not in charge here. I am." And then he moves. You are enough. You are still here. You are still trying. Say those words on a hard morning and notice what happens. Not fireworks, not sudden energy, something quieter, a small shift, like a door opening just enough to let a little light in. Because here is what those words do. They interrupt the story your fear is trying to tell. Fear says you are not enough, you have already failed, there is no point. And when you say quietly and firmly, I am enough, I am still here, I am still trying, you are not arguing with the fear, you are simply choosing a different story, a truer one. A mind left alone in the morning fills with fear. A mind spoken to fills with direction. Self-compassion is not weakness. This is something that surprises people. We are taught in many cultures that being hard on yourself is what makes you strong. That criticism pushes you forward. That if you are kind to yourself, you will become lazy and soft. But the research on this is clear, and the experience of people like Goggins confirms it in a different way. Harshness does not build resilience. It builds brittleness. The people who recover fastest from failure, who get up the most times, who keep going the longest, are not the ones who beat themselves up the hardest. They are the ones who know how to be honest about what happened, and then speak to themselves with enough kindness to stand up again. Your morning is your message to the day, and on the hard days, that message needs to be this: I have been through hard things before. I am still here. And I will move through this too. You do not have to feel strong to say that. You just have to say it. Your brain does not need you to believe it fully yet. It just needs to hear it enough times to start building the road toward it. Even Goggins, the hardest man alive, uses his voice to pull himself forward. Not silence, words. So on the mornings when everything in you wants to stay under the covers and disappear from the day, say it anyway, quietly, with whatever small piece of you is still willing. I am enough. I am still here. I am still trying. And then put your feet on the floor. There is one more set of words I want to give you, and this one is the most personal. It is the one most people skip. Not because it is complicated, because it feels strange, a little uncomfortable, maybe even a little embarrassing. I want you to say your own name, not to someone else, to yourself, out loud in the morning before the day begins, with respect, the way you would say the name of someone you love and believe in. Hear me on this. If you have been shrinking lately, if you have been making yourself smaller to fit into spaces that were never meant for you, if you have been waiting for someone else to tell you that you are capable before you let yourself believe it, then this is the phrase that breaks that pattern. Stand in front of a mirror if you can, look at yourself, and say this: my name is, and I am becoming the person I was always meant to be. Fill in your own name. Say it like you mean it. Not perfectly, not with complete confidence, just with enough sincerity to make it real. There was a young woman named Claire. 22 years old, fresh out of university, starting her first real job. On paper, she was doing well. But every morning she would stand in the bathroom, and the voice in her head would start its work. You don't really know what you're doing. Someone is going to figure out that you're not that smart. You got lucky, and it won't last. She called it her morning sabotage, the thing that cut her down before the day had even started. And she had lived with it for so long that she thought it was just part of who she was. Then a mentor told her something she did not forget. She said the voice that tears you down in the morning is not the truth about you. It is just the loudest voice, and you can train a different voice to be louder. Claire started small. Just her name, just standing in front of the mirror and saying it with a straight back and a steady breath. I am Claire, and I am capable of more than I think. If you have been shrinking, if you have been quiet, if you have been waiting for permission to take up space, then you already know what I mean. You know the feeling of tearing yourself down before anyone else has the chance to. You know how it feels to be your own worst voice before the day has even had a chance to surprise you. And you also know, somewhere deep, that you are more than that voice says you are. Your morning is your message to the day. And your name, spoken with intention, spoken with respect, spoken as a declaration of who you are becoming, is one of the most powerful messages you can send. You don't need someone else to believe in you first. You just need one morning where you do. Start there. Just one morning. Stand up. Say your name. Say it like it means something. Because it does. Say, I am. I am enough. I am here. I am becoming. Let those words sit in the air for a moment. Notice how they feel in your chest. Notice the difference between that feeling and the feeling of the automatic morning more, the one where you hand yourself over to the noise before you have said a word. That difference is what this whole lesson has been about. Not a perfect morning, not a long ritual, not a set of affirmations you repeat without feeling, just a few true, chosen words, said with intention. Every morning, before the world gets loud, let me bring everything together. You have learned a lot in this lesson, but I do not want you to walk away with a long list. I want you to walk away with something you will actually use. Something small enough to do tomorrow morning before you reach for your phone before the world finds you. So here are the words, all of them, in order. You wake up, you take one slow breath, and you say, I am here, I am alive, and that is enough to begin. That is your first word to the day, presence, gratitude. The simple, honest acknowledgement that you are still here and the day is still open. Then you say, today I will focus on what I can control. I will do my best with what I have. And that is enough. That is your direction, your intention, the quiet decision to move through the day with purpose instead of just reacting to whatever comes. And then, on any morning, easy or hard, you say, I am enough. I am still here. I am still trying. That is your anchor, the words that hold you when things get difficult. The reminder that showing up, even imperfectly, is always worth something. And finally, your name, spoken with respect, with a straight back and a steady breath. I am, and I am becoming the person I was always meant to be. 4 phrases, maybe 90 seconds of your morning. That is all this takes. But do not mistake simplicity for weakness. These words carry real weight. They carry the weight of intention, the weight of self-respect, the weight of a daily choice to be on your own side before you ask anything of yourself. The most powerful conversation you will ever have is the one you have with yourself before the world wakes up. Marcus Aurelius knew this. Oprah built her life around it. David Goggins used it to pull himself through the unthinkable. And a man named Daniel, lying in the dark after losing everything, found his way back to himself, one quiet morning at a time. Claire stood in front of her mirror, said her own name, and stopped waiting for someone else to believe in her first. Maya found a small gap between waking and worrying. And inside that gap, she found herself. These are not extraordinary people with extraordinary resources. They are people who chose their words carefully in the quiet hours before the day began. You can do the same, starting tomorrow morning. Starting with 90 seconds and 4 phrases and 1 slow breath. Your morning is your message to the day. Say it well. Say it with kindness. Say it like you mean it. Because the day is listening. And more importantly, you are listening. And the person who hears those words most clearly, the person who is shaped by them most deeply, is you. Thank you for spending this time with me today. Keep listening every morning. Your English and your life will grow. Which morning phrase hit you the hardest? Tell me in the comments below. I read every single one, and I would love to hear where you are in your journey. Until next time, take care of yourself And remember, your morning is your message to the day. Make it a good one.